Hey guys, I'm Pojoman from TSM's R6 team, and I'm going to be doing a operator tier list guide for you. So for the tiers, we have the S tier. This is like cream of the crop. This is the best ops that you can have. Then you have A, B, C, D. D is clearly like the worst. Like Tachanka's going in there right away, so that's what we're going to do with him. A is like your decent ops, like really good ops. B is kind of situational. C is probably situational, but worse. So I'm going to base this off of professional play. So somebody like Amaru, I would say, is an S tier in ranked, but I definitely wouldn't say they're an S tier operator in competitive play. So let's start ranking them. We got Smoke right here. I think Smoke is S tier. He's got a shield. He's got smokes. He can clutch everything. He's just crazy. Like Smoke is just great everywhere. Dokkaebi, I'd say she's competitive. I'd say she's like a C or B. I'm gonna lean towards C. I think I can change these later, so we might have to reevaluate. But Valk, I'd say she's probably at least A tier, maybe S tier. We're gonna go with S for now. You're gonna notice there's gonna be a lot of S tier, but we might need to reevaluate as that fills up. Hibana, definitely S tier. Actually, let's throw Valk down here now just because Hibana's crazy. She can open 3 hatches. She's just a really strong op. She lets you do a lot of things on attack, hard breach wise. Legion, since he got nerfed, I would say is almost like C tier. Depending on what kind of strat you want to run, he could be like B. But right now, I'd say C tier. Caveira, D tier. Brings nothing to the team if you're picking her or you're trolling. Clash is pretty strong right now in competitive. She's kind of like the lazy op that bad defending teams take to fix their defenses, but I'd say she's like a B right now competitively. Where do we have Capcan? I would say Capcan's a solid D. Capcan is pretty good in ranked because people don't drone and you can just get free damage on them with it, but in competitive it's just not that useful. Amaru, before her buff, I would have said D tier easily, but with her buff, I think she's actually pretty solid. She's at least a good C tier now. Maverick's a pretty solid hard breacher, but he's not the greatest, so I'd say he's an A tier. Now that he has nades, you could maybe argue he'd be an S tier, but I'd say A is a good place for him because his breaching potential is not as good, but he does have decent utility, so I think A is a solid spot for him. Nomad, I would argue the same. Really good at flank watching, but she can kind of eat up your utility though, since that's her only goal is watching flank. So I'd say she's a solid A though. Rook, let's just go with D tier. Like the Rook plates are nice, but they don't really bring a whole lot. Rook has almost like no utility. You bring him maybe if you want like some impacts and an ACOG, and that's about it. Buck used to be S tier, but with his nades gone, like a lot of people would have thought like, oh, maybe he'll go A tier. Now this Buck's straight up at least B tier, maybe even C tier, just because of his lack of nades. But like his soft breach is still really good. I would say he's between B and C based on the map, just really solely depending on the map. So I'll leave him a B. I'll give Buck a break. Doc, if this was a ranked tier operator, this guy would be S plus. He'd be up in the sky somewhere. But I'll put him at, I would say he's a B. People kind of overvalue him, I think. But he does have a good bulletproof and a really good gun, so I would say B is a decent spot for him. Pulse, definitely A tier. I'm gonna keep him in there. He's got really good utility. You can see where everybody is. You can see for them. He has a terrible gun, but it doesn't matter when you get that much information for free. Thatcher. In competitive, Thatcher gets banned every 5 seconds, so I would say normally S tier, but since he's banned all the time. Okay, yeah, we gotta go with S tier, because Thatcher's like free, do everything faster. That's all he is. Literally anything you can do in the game, Thatcher lets you do twice as fast. That's his main role. Just by EMPing ADSs, opening walls, all of that. Just, he makes everything easier, so S tier it is. He gets banned all the time too, so. Mozzie would have been S tier after the nerf. I think he's still kind of underused right now, but I'll give him B based on my own interpretation. I think Mozzie's still really good, but the nerf to taking away his shotgun really hurt him competitively, so he's still got a good C4. His pests are really annoying. I'd say B is a good spot. I think Alibi's kind of underrated. She's not She's not bad. She comes with a shield. I wouldn't say she's a B tier operator, but I'd definitely say like a C. I think you could definitely argue she definitely doesn't belong in the D tier. Like, she's got a really good gun. She's got a shield. Her prismas on certain maps can be really annoying, so I'd say C. Frost, I'm gonna give Frost a D. I think she's just too situational to really justify her being anywhere else. You can use her. Should you use her? Probably not. Anything like C and above, I would say, is viable and competitive. D is kind of like, sure, you can bring them, but you're probably better off with somebody else. Fuse, pretty much the same thing. Sure, you can bring them. Probably better off with something else, though. And with the new balance changes to him, it doesn't really change anything. He has one of the best guns in the game, but he's still in the D tier. Think about that. Goyo with 3 shields used to be S tier. Goyo with 2 shields, I would say he's like a B tier operator right now. It's crazy how much taking away 1 shield from him made him that much worse. And I think actually kind of balanced him out perfectly. Mute's definitely S tier. The thing about the S tier is these are the ops you're gonna see like in 90% of every game. You're gonna have at least a smoke or a mute or both every single round. If you don't have 1 or 2 of these operators, your team's probably trolling. That's just a straight up fact. Tachanka, that's definitely S tier. Fantastic utility with his machine. No, I'm just kidding. He's definitely D tier. Tachanka's garbage. I shouldn't have to explain this one for you. Jackal, I'd say Jackal's in like, he's really map dependent, I think. On certain maps, I'd say he's like an A. On other maps, I'd say he's like a C, just because he doesn't bring that much utility. So I'll throw him right on B, just to be kind of right in the middle. Bandit, I'd say even Bandit. Bandit's kind of lost the spotlight. It's pretty hard to bandit trick anything nowadays. So I'd say he's a B at this point. He has a really good gun still. You can still use him for that, and he's got a C4 as well. Blitz, let's say D. Blitz kind of sucks. He's just too easy to counter. Like, you can smoke him, you can C4 him, you can shoot his legs off as he runs at you. He's situational at best. You're probably better off with MONTAGNE. So let's rank MONTAGNE then. I'd say he's at like a B. Some teams kind of use him as a crutch to like fix their attacks, but I think he's still a pretty solid operator for if you want to do something very specific. Against really aggressive teams, you can kind of use him to control the dumb stuff happening. So I'd say MONTAGNE's a solid B. All right, let's see, GLAZ. I think GLAZ is underrated, but that's just my opinion. But I'll put him in D. There's a lot of counters for GLAZ now, as opposed to when he used to be able to just shoot through smoke and kill everybody anyway. But all the nerfs to him have really kind of hit him. But they've buffed his gun, but it's still not really the same. And competitively, I think his utility is actually really strong right now. People just don't really know how to use it. Yana, I'd say she's kind of another D tier operator. Anything B tier is typically like, these are the kind of the ones that you don't bring every round, but whenever you need like to change something up, these are kind of what you bring. Yana's got the grenades, she's got her clones, which are pretty good. It's pretty much if you want a nade operator, but you don't need Bucker's Sledge, is when you can bring Yana. Or if you're just really lazy at droning. Yana's really good at droning out the map without actually having to drone. IQ is just S tier. She's got a G8. If you got a G8, you're automatically S tier. So in that case, Amaru should be in S tier, but we're talking competitive. Competitively, IQ is insane. She can see everything through the walls, through the floors, shoot it off, and then she has the best gun in the game by a very large margin. I'm just gonna drag IQ to the top just because of the G8. Amaru has the G8, but she has no utility. Competitively, no utility, no bueno. C tier. Ying, I think Ying's still I think Ying's really strong right now. She's hard to use when you have to clear everything out. She's kind of another B tier operator. She's not the greatest in the game. She's not the worst in the game, but she's kind of a good thing to 6-pick onto, throw the other team off guard. Knock I would say is a D tier. I feel like her gun is just too bad to really justify it. You're mainly hurting your team when you bring Knock a lot of the time. Twitch, I feel like Twitch's drone is getting a little bit better, but competitively, I'm almost leaning towards D, but I would say she's at least a C. She's just like a really bad Thatcher. Way worse than Thatcher. Like if you compared Twitch and Thatcher, it'd be night and day. Oh, Ace. So we can't play Ace in competitive yet, but next season when he comes out, automatic S tier. Actually, I'm gonna even just throw him at the top of S tier. I would say Ace might be one of the most broken operators in the game when he comes out, so hopefully they nerf him before then. You can open 3 walls instantly just by throwing them, and they're bigger holes than Hibana. Sure, he can't get hatches as well, but whatever. Bring a Thermite then too. And then you still have Ace, he has smoke grenades too, which is insane. They've always tried to avoid giving smoke grenades to hard breachers, but then they did it, the madmen. Finka, I think Finka's a pretty D tier operator. The Australians might disagree with me, but I don't think Finka really gets you a whole lot. Kind of in the same realm as Knock. They just started giving these ops frag grenades because they're not very good. A lot of the time the recoil control from Finka just ends up screwing you over than actually helping you. So Maestro, I'd say Maestro's an S tier. He's kind of along the lines of like Smoke and Mute, where you're just at a disadvantage by not having him. That's probably one of the biggest issues in the game too, is all this passive utility from like Mute, Maestro, Goyo. If you die, all your cams are still there. You have barbed wire, you have the best defender gun in the game with 81 bullets. Maestro gun go burr. That's what I would say. Melusi, once again, we can't play her currently, but when we can, if she's in her current state, probably an S, maybe a, I would say, yeah, we're gonna go with S tier. Everything on her is insane. C4, really good gun, really good utility. It's all 3 checkboxes. What we got next? Zoe, I would actually say Zoe's like an A. I think she's fallen off a little bit, just due to the fact that you need flashbangs in the current meta like crazy to burn ADSs and Wamais. I would say Zoe's actually gone down a tier, which is probably a good thing. However, the only issue with that is that it now has made Ashe even more S tier. Ashe has flashbangs, 3 flashbangs, and 2 impacts basically. ZOFIA has 2 stuns, 2 impacts. You get 1 more ADS burn with Ashe, and technically a better gun. Ashe, kind of self-explanatory, it's Ashe. Best gun in the game, some of the best utility in the game, and the best speed in the game. Why they put it on all 3 of those things on one op? I don't know. Mira, I would say Mira's a really strong operator as well. I don't think she's as impactful as she used to be. On certain maps, I'd say Mira's S tier, but in general, I would say A tier. Echo, S tier. Echo, in my opinion, is one of the most broken ops right now in the game. He was literally broken for a bit because he couldn't kill his Echo drones. And then he still has 2 of them. He's got impacts, barbed wire, ACOG. He's got the holy trifecta of defender utility. You can leave them on the roof, your teammates can use them. You can die, your teammates can still use your utility. You know, there you go. Echo, really good. Right there with Maestro. They're pretty much just interchangeable at this point. And that's the problem why if you don't ban one of them and both of them are up, there's just too much utility to deal with. And then next season when Melusi comes out, you have all 3 of these up. Like, it's going to be a nightmare to deal with. Thermite. Does Thermite kind of fit in now? He's so necessary. I guess I would say I like Thermite. Well, this is my biased opinion, but I like Thermite. Thermite's just a good op. Makes really good holes. He has 3 flashbangs, clear ADS. His gun's all right. I'd say he's an S, just for the sole purpose of his breaches. Vigil. My opinion on Vigil is that he's kind of the ops that bad teams use to like run around and try to get free kills. But I would say he's a solid B. He's a nuisance on defense. So Wamai, definitely S tier. Wamai's just a pain to deal with. The fact that he has his own shield is, I think, ridiculous. Like, he can throw down his own shield and then protect it with his own magnets. I think that puts him in the S tier just as is. Even if he had like an okay gun, I would still say he's S tier. But he also has the AUG and the MP5K, which are 2 really good guns. So we got Cali. I think Cali, I would say she's around the same area as Twitch. She can kind of fill the Thatcher role in certain circumstances, but she's very situational. Gridlock's a weird one. Very, very map dependent, I would say. Because depending on the map, I'd say she's like an A. Other maps, she's like a C. That seems kind of like a B to me. I'll throw in the B category. Blackbeard. I don't know. I'd say Blackbeard's kind of a D tier operator. He just doesn't bring a whole lot of utility. You maybe bring Blackbeard if the other team is just peeking like a bunch of monkeys. That's the only time you'd really bring Blackbeard. Sledge. Sludge is definitely S tier. S tier, once again, is like you're going to see these ops in every single lineup for likely. And Sludge gives you really good soft destruction. He can do basically infinite soft destruction. He's got nades. Sludge is your go-to. He also has 2 guns. Yeah, he's S tier for sure. CAPITAO. CAPITAO is like a solid A, maybe even S. Like he's teetering right on the kind of A/S category because he's kind of a flexy op. You know how I have B as like a lot of flexible kind of ops? CAPITAO is like the king of flexi ops. I'll just put him at an A just because sometimes he's not required. He's kind of a little bit situational. Castle. In competitive, Castle's actually pretty strong depending on the site that you're using him. Like in certain sites and setups, he's like an S tier up. But then on other maps, he's like a D tier. So I'd say he lands somewhere in the B series. Warden's teetering on the C/D category. Very situational. I would argue D, honestly. Warden's pretty situational. It's pretty rare that you'll see him now. I think he's too situational to justify putting him any higher than that. Jaeger. Where do you think I'm putting Jaeger? It's going right next to Wamai because people bring them together. Jaeger's ridiculous in the fact that, like Ash, he hasn't been nerfed really all that much ever since he came out. He still has an amazing gun with 600 bullets in reserve, 3 ADSs that catch 2 projectiles each. He just makes everything take longer. Like, the game becomes slower from him existing. Pretty solid up. Can't really go wrong with a Jaeger. Lion's in kind of a weird place. He's really strong on maps like Coastline because you can afford to kind of put him in a lineup, but other than that, he's not really that useful. Like I said, you've got Jaeger, Wamai, Maestro, Echo that you have to deal with. You don't have the utility to kind of wait and use Lion, so we're gonna throw him in the C. Cade, I'd say Cade has gotten even better. Like his shotgun got nerfed, but his utility got even more buffed up now that Thatcher is banned a lot of the time. And even if Thatcher isn't banned, like you can Cade trick a lot of things, and I'd say he's definitely like an A tier. Oh, we got Ella. She's almost D tier, I'd say. No, she's decent at certain things. I'd say C. Oryx, the last but not least. Where do you lie, Oryx? He's kind of in the same realm as Ella. Very situational, but I think you can kind of get stuff done with Oryx. And with the new patches, with his dashes being pretty good, you can kind of run through 3 walls at a time. So that might make him a little bit better at flanking things, because you can just bum rush through one wall, bum rush through another wall, and then keep going. We'll have to see how that ends up, but I think he's around a C. So I'll kind of rate these in their tier list now. So I would say like Caveira's pretty, I guess, at the bottom of the D tier. Yeah, we'll go bottom, because the bottom's the worst. Caveira, Tachanka, kind of the bottom of your D tiers. I think Kapkan should stay near the top. Kapkan, Rook, Frost. Yeah, those are all kind of decent ops. Like you can bring them. They're okay. You know what? For the Australians, I'll give Finka a little bit of love. Move her up 1 notch. For the C tier, I accidentally have everything in the right place already. Maybe move Ella a bit up. Okay, the B tier is where things might get a little complicated. I'd say Castle's pretty high up on the B tier. Even Doc, I'd say Castle, Doc, top of the B tier. B tier is everyone in here is kind of a flex operator, so I wouldn't really value any of them over the other one. They're all kind of your situational, but used frequently enough. The A tier, Valk, Pulse, Mav, I would say those are like you're kind of on an even playing field. Probably move the Zoe up. Zoe's really strong still. Yeah, I'd say everything on the A tier is almost everything but Cade. Like Cade you could argue it'd be a B, but I'd say they're all kind of in the right places. S tier, IQ is staying at the top. She has the G8. She's got the anti-utility. Ace also staying at the top. Broken. Malusi going to the top. She's going to be really strong. Echo, Maestro. These are the ops that I find a pain to deal with, and that probably should be reworked in some way. So same with like my Jaeger, Wamai, really strong. Don't need to like actively babysit your utility. I guess with Wamai you kind of do, but he has a shield, so why he has a shield, I don't know. Like Smoke Mute you'll see all the time, but they're not like the greatest fraggers or anything out there. They don't have the best guns. They're just S tier because of their utility. But yeah, I'll put Ashe above them, because really good utility, really good gun, 3 speed. How that's still a thing, I don't know. Thatcher, I might move up right below IQ. Thatcher's just super strong. I'd say everything in the S tier is now appropriately ranked. So yeah, I'm content with this list.
Hey guys, so the new patch just dropped, and Zero, aka Sam, nobody calls him Zero, don't do that, is going to be in the game. In terms of tier list, I was probably going to put him A tier, I would say, until I know more, until I know how he'd be used more. I think he'll be pretty strong. His guns are also really good, so I'd say somewhere around a A, maybe S, maybe B. And yeah, that's where I would put him. Where do you think Sam is?
You smell so good.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching my tier list guide. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to follow me anywhere on Twitch or Twitter or anything, it's TSM_Pojoman. And I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.